By now, you've probably seen videos of SpaceX catching a rocket using its launch tower. But what if instead of the catch happening, what if it ended up in an explosive disaster? Well, that almost happened. So here's the story of how everything came down to one crucial second, almost costing SpaceX their biggest catch. So on October 13th, SpaceX made history during its 5th test flight of the Starship rocket. The goal with this launch was to bring down the Super Heavy, which is the giant booster stage, but instead of it landing in the water or landing upright by itself, they wanted to catch it using the launch tower's arms. And they actually pulled this off, and the video is mind-blowing. But Elon shared recently that this almost didn't happen. So there's something called the spin gas system, which manages the pressure during the landing sequence, and the engineers discovered that its configuration was slightly off. If the system were to fail, then the emergency abort would have taken place, and if that were the case, then the rocket would have crashed next to the tower instead of landing safely in its arms. Thankfully, everything worked out, but it was just 1 second away from being a failure. And then issue number 2 was that there's a cover that protects the booster's most important parts during re-entry called the chine. And during re-entry, the chine was ripped off, and without it, the parts can end up potentially taking heavy damage. So thankfully, even though the chine was ripped off, no damage took place. Before the launch, the engineers knew that this was going to be a risky test flight, and they even considered pushing the launch back a day or two, but it wouldn't have made a difference. There's just so many different parts and components that have to work in sync, and it just shows how complex these missions can get. They even had over 100 safety checks in place, but even then, with such a complex mission, it just gets tricky to find these small malfunctions. But props to SpaceX, the landing was a success, and now they're getting ready for their 6th test flight. And with each mission, they're improving their systems and continuing to push the boundaries of what's possible. It's this constant innovation that keeps SpaceX progressing at such an incredible pace. If you enjoyed this video, then please be sure to like and subscribe for more updates.